It's me, Vera, here to remind you that this is an adult podcast. That means we're going to deal with tough topics. Take a break if you need it, and be kind to yourself, because we sure won't be.
Hello, everybody. My name is Mike, and welcome back to Podcast by Night, or should I say, Stitch of Fate, Season 3, special episode today. As always, I am your storyteller, Mike Martin, but today I am joined by only one, and not a core member of the cast. We have a special guest with us today. How's it going, KP? Welcome to the show.
Hello, everybody. Thank you. This is an absolute joy. I can't even believe I'm here because I am an absolute fan of your guys' show.
Thank you so much, man. We're just so excited you said yes to this. Like, I'm nervous as hell. I'm nervous as hell.
You're nervous.
Yeah. Listen, that's just the case for me in every episode. I am just nervous all the time.
I understand. I'm the one nervous because, first off, you're bringing me on a show that I absolutely adore, playing a character that is apparently very iconic and very well loved and very, very well known. And on top of all of that, this will be my very first time ever playing Vampire the Masquerade. So all I ask on my end is please be understanding.
I think that I'm going to be understanding. Don't worry. I won't treat you any worse than I've ever treated our players.
Excellent.
I promise you that much.
Excellent.
And I'm sure the viewers are going to be more than welcome. More than welcoming to you, to the system. And I hope they believe that you're in good hands. I'd like to think you're in good hands. I'd like to think I'm going to guide you nicely. We did a very quick overview of your character and their stats, but
I trust you implicitly. All right,
that's a bad idea. You can't do that. It's making me more nervous. That's all you're doing.
Oh no.
So yeah. Go ahead. Well, I'm sorry. What were you gonna say?
I don't trust you then.
Yes, that's much better. You can't trust a World of Darkness storyteller. It's never going to be a fond story by the end of it all.
Lesson one learned.
So people may and have been wondering for a long time, for about this whole season, season 3 now, what happened and where did Qadir go? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm so glad to be able to tell you that today's episode will explore what happened to Qadir the night he never came back, why it seems the Camarilla wasn't all that concerned, and what ended up happening to Qadir that got him caught, if rumors are to be believed by Vera. So KP, yes, you'll be playing Qadir today, and today, I hope, answers some questions that people have had. Without further ado, are you ready, good sir?
As ready as I'll ever be.
Then let's rein things in, set the scene, and see what Qadir is up to. The first sound that greets our ears is the rumbling of an engine on a New York street. Distant honking, but our screen remains black. Before the camera comes into focus, text that simply says 1 year ago fades in and fades out. The black screen slowly gives way to a lowly lit concrete floor. We can see, or should I say asphalt floor, as we see the lines of the roads blurring past our vision as the camera slowly tilts up. As it does so, tires in the front of a very simple looking dark vehicle speeds down this back road. The camera continues to pan up, and behind the wheel, we see a cool, calm, and collected individual. On this night, this man is meant to go meet up with our coterie. Out in the blood room, down underneath their club. All steps are in place at this point to hopefully reinstate Panhard and figure out what happened and wake her up. But first, Larson has to be taken care of. On this evening, what is Qadir wearing? As the camera comes into focus, with hands on the wheel and a steely gaze watching and looking forward.
From what I understand, he is a very sharp individual. We've had discussions about this, how he is a man of duty, a man of very firm focus. And so for someone like that, something that is both utilitarian, something he can move in and be up, be able to do his duty in, but also showcase the status, not necessarily even the status, but more so give a level of presence. So I can imagine him being in a very plain, simple black suit of well-made material, probably something that is, high class, upper class. Perhaps it has some sort of pattern or intricate lining that kind of evokes more of a South Asian, perhaps Middle Eastern or Indian origin patterns and designs. Very subtle, but and a nod to that place. But overall, a very plain looking black suit with a white linen shirt underneath, perhaps a tie that kind of holds it all in together, a nice brown or black belt, just something very simple. And but on the side, or you could see he has some sort of a holster for a gun, maybe one that he might not normally use, or maybe it's not holstered in there, it's perhaps empty. Maybe it's not for a gun. It may actually be his sword that he carries around with him. Just not on him, because currently he's driving, and that would be a very
Awkward.
awkward
Very
thing to
awkward
have
position to
on.
sit.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, then as our camera catches a first glimpse of you through the windshield, we can actually hear the slow, rhythmic pitter-patter of the first indication of rain. And as our camera pushes forward, it pushes in through the window shield with a slight rippling effect, and all the noises of the New York streets become muffled. The engine still rumbling, but a little bit quieter now, and the honking horns are overridden by a radio noise. There is a baseball game playing tonight. I am curious if Qadir has it on as he's on his way to do business.
Oh, absolutely. His favorite team, the Mets, probably are playing one of their games right now. So he's just listening in. Unfortunately, he can't make it to the stadium. His duty prevents him to really make it to any of the games live. But, on these more solitary moments, it's something I can imagine him just enjoying and listening on.
And as the noises of the game filter outward and our camera stays focused on Qadir, as a crack of a bat happens, the camera will blur focus and focus out the back windshield. We can see headlights now coming through in the distance, a bit through the rain, as the rain starts to blur the lights on the back windshield of your car. Can I please get from you a wits awareness roll?
Off the bat with my first roll.
It's my favorite roll, so the awareness is going to be
I
third
see it.
call. Yeah.
There we go.
You rolled 2 successes. Qadir is aware, hyper aware at all times of where he is, his current surroundings, his company. And while his mind may be flittering between the business he has tonight that lie ahead of him, maybe another 20 minutes away, and the baseball game, he's still very aware. And he's been clocking. Every time, those same pair of headlights seem to round the corner just a block away. Occasionally, Qadir will turn down a road, go down a side street, seeing if they'll follow, and almost every time, though not every time, these same headlights seem to appear. You might be asking yourself, well, how can one tell the difference in headlights? But do not forget that Qadir is a toreador. Auspex and heightened senses. Not only are the headlights familiar, but should he focus, drown out the world around him, and simply listen to the tires, the back left tire seems to have just a little less air than all the rest, and you can hear it when he goes over bumps and potholes, confirming that it seems to be the same car. Qadir, you are being followed.
I imagine this is not really something that is abnormal for him. He's in his years of experience, in his years of being in the unlife. I can imagine this is, not the first time he's been followed, not the first time he's been tracked. So he just continues and hopefully tries. I believe he'll probably start to speed up a little bit.
Attempting to lose them, specifically?
Yeah, attempting to lose them.
Fantastic.
And before he does that though,
Mhm.
would he be able to see through their windshield to see who it might be?
You could do so if you slowed down and let them catch up a little bit. They're always
Okay.
maintaining about a block's distance from you, and through the rain, it's hard to see the visuals, not only through your back windshield, but as the rain picks up more, it's going to make it even harder from there. But if you let them get close enough, you could probably get a face, or at the very least, a better understanding of the make and model of the car following you. Because as far as you can tell from the headlights, it's probably an SUV, but that's all you can really tell.
Yeah, I think then he might actually slow down. He would slow down
Okay.
and
Do you
try
take
to see
a side street, or do you slow down on a busier street where there are a lot more cars?
Good question. I can imagine him still taking a busier street for now. Um, and then eventually, if he cannot make it out or understand what exactly this is about, he will start taking more of less traveled. So a lot of the
Sure.
side streets, smaller streets with less traffic.
So we imagine that plays into his Qadir's plan. To be on a busier street makes it less obvious that you're slowing down for them to try and see. Maybe traffic is in the way, or Qadir specifically tries to stay behind certain traffic. I am going to make a roll to see if they can pick up on the fact that maybe they are being followed, or they are realized that they're being followed, or following you rather. And as Qadir moves his way into busy roads and stays behind traffic, pumping his brakes, the car does inch a little closer. It seems to close about half the distance before it seems to refuse to follow or breach this invisible distance line behind you. But you can see that it is a dark black GMC vehicle with tinted dark windows. Can I please get from you an intelligence academics roll?
Ooh.
Oh, I would also accept intelligence politics roll.
Okay.
It would be I'd be looking for less successes if you rolled politics.
Oh,
So it'd be
interesting.
easier
It feels like it would balance out in the end.
for you. A little bit. You got like you have one less dot in politics than you have in academics, but I think honestly, I'm going to change. You make a good point. I will accept either wits streetwise or intelligence politics, your choice. I think it's the same pool either way. You critical succeed with a total of 5 successes, which is fantastic. And as you slow down, entering traffic, and the orange hue of the streetlights is now being scattered amongst the rain, and puddles begin to build in the streets as you roll through them. This gets closer and you see the type and make of vehicle it is. And you begin to think, likely it's not going to be any of the gangs. They're not carrying that kind of equipment. They don't have that kind of money to spend. Could be mortals, but on the quick moment, you can't think of anything that would have riled anybody up against you. You're much too careful, and it's been decades since mortals have tracked you. Your skill is well beyond that. So it leaves you with 2 choices. It could be kindred. Toreador and Ventru, in particular, are fond of vehicles like this, and the Ventru within New York certainly like to ride around in style. However, there is the idea it could be Kaiser, the Nosferatu, who plays on both sides, as he is known to you especially to drive around his own fortified vehicles, though why he would be following you is in the air. And then your mind trails to hunters. Likely not religious hunters. They are more homebrew terrorism than anything. These look like well-funded, if they are hunters, governmental, which is concerning. Which Qadir believes it to be, kindred or hunters, is up to you.
I do have a question.
Yes.
From what I recall, they did discuss this plan with Qadir, right? The fact that they gave Qadir's name up and told them about his routes and plans and when he would come next meet.
Yes.
To
100%.
To Larson, from what I recall. So would he be aware of that now? Would that be something that
it definitely would cross
his
mind? However, this is happening much earlier than anticipated, as it was supposed to be done closer to the club where you guys were going to meet afterwards and kind of come together. Yeah. But yes, it absolutely would, which may influence his thoughts to be maybe it's kindred or maybe it's hunters if they decided to play dangerous and get hunters in on the game. Yeah. But that's the thought that arrives as the thing gets half a block closer and then refuses to get any closer than that. You are welcome to make me a wits awareness if you'd like, with heightened senses, to see if you can see the license plate on the front of it, if that's something you'd like to try and do.
I would.
And you still succeed, so you're able to activate your your heightened senses. Qadir takes a moment as he's driving, as the green light ahead goes to yellow to red, where he has to slow down the brakes. He looks into his rearview mirror. It's hard to see through the rain that's coming through his back windshield and theirs, so instead, you look to your side view mirror, and you squint for a moment. Try to see through it all, the blurry lines and the blurry colors. But the more you look at the closer they get, the more you're almost certain you can see a governmental seal plastered on their license plate.
With that, I'm assuming that is hunters more so than anything else.
That certainly indicates it, especially if they're following you.
So this, I think, would be the point where Qadir would start speeding up and start trying to lose them in the smaller streets of New York.
Excellent. So do you wait for the light from red to green, or do we see Qadir decide to peel off now?
No, I think he will wait as long as possible to not make them aware that he understands or knows that he's being followed. So he's going to be patient. He's a patient man. He knows himself. He knows he's capable.
And so as our vision pulls out and we get a profile view of your vehicle, and then down the street, the larger SUV vehicle idly sitting amongst the traffic. The light flickers to green. Traffic begins to drive. And we watch Qadir drive very straight until the last moment where he has to turn right and he tries to take a side road. Then you slowly speed up and try to lose them. Can I please get from you a dexterity drive check, please? Oh my god. That's okay. You rolled a total of 8 successes after a critical. That's an insane amount of successes. Let's see what I roll. Not that at all. God, insane. I need to make a secondary roll now. So we watch as Qadir pulls down a side street and then skips the next turn and takes the one after that, while immediately taking the next turn there, and then looping around the block and doing a U-turn, and just taking what seems to be an erratic, difficult to follow path. You're wise enough to keep traffic between the two of you as best you can, even on these slower roads if you have the opportunity, and if you don't, you try to get off the road as soon as possible so that if they turn the block, they no longer see you. For a little while, it seems they're actually able to keep up, but you know these streets much more intimately than these government mooks. And so, eventually, after about 5 to 10 minutes, you're confident that you've lost them. Would you merge back onto main traffic to head back, or would you try to stay to side roads knowing it would take you longer, but it'll be likely much harder to find you and follow you if you do so?
I think the second option. I think he will continue, even if it takes a little bit longer. It's safer. It's easier to lose them if necessary. So,
all right, can you make me one more dex drive check?
Okey-dokey.
Good, still a very good roll. I mean, it's hard to beat the roll that you had last time, but it's still a very, very good roll. I just wanted to see what you were going to roll against the one I had rolled prior. So, Okay, we watch Qadir meld into the side streets. Our vision eventually ripples back through the back windshield as the rain starts to torrentially downpour. And Qadir making many turns, but still generally heading northeast, where the club lie from where you were. After about maybe another 10 or 15 minutes, I need you to make me a wits awareness roll once again.
Okay.
You don't see it before it happens. You don't have enough time to react. As you're moving down the side street, passing by one of the intersections that would lead to a busier road, on your left, as you pass by, you are suddenly blinded. Large, bright headlights are barreling towards you at a crazy speed. And as you maybe slam your foot on the gas to try and peel out, which you're welcome to make me another dex drive check to try and peel away.
Yeah.
This giant SUV is on a collision course.
Any difficulty?
Nope, you're just going to be rolling opposed mine. Good roll, not critical, thank God, but you still rolled 5 successes. And I was not able to completely overtake that. So as you slam your foot onto the pedal, try to get out of this vehicle's way as it's barreling toward down this small side road. You are able to get the majority of your car forward. The back end of your car, the trunk, however, is slammed head first with the front of this SUV. You can hear your tires skid and screech as the crunching of metal and shattering of glass overwhelm your senses and send bits of debris flying outside the rear of your car. And your car stops suddenly as the back end gets pinned up against a brick wall of a nearby building. What few pedestrians seem to be in this back road quickly scatter and scream as you watch from your rear view mirror. Passenger doors open on the SUV, and these figures that are being illuminated in just shadow by the lights behind them start piling out. As at this point, we move into combat. Combat in this game works very simple. Everybody kind of just says what they want to do, and depending if it's a ranged or a melee thing, that will happen first. And then you just kind of go order of operations, and it technically all happens all at once. A World of Darkness round in game is about 3 seconds long, as opposed to like a 6 or 7 second long one, which I think is D&D. Just to give you an idea of how quick, these actions take. So with that being said, your car gets slammed and pinned. The rain is now the only thing you can hear over muffled voices of short grunt commands that seem to be coming from behind you. What does Qadir do, and how does he react?
You see him look in the rearview mirror, look down, and kind of just adjusts himself, wipes down any broken pieces of glass that might have fallen on him, kind of readjusts his suit, and you just hear him just make the like a big sigh, just like a and then you see him open the door, step outside into the rain, and you hear the rain pattering on his head and on his suit. You see him once again kind of just adjust himself and then kind of button up or unbutton. I would imagine he unbuttons his that top button of his suit. And then you see him not quite let go of the driver door. Like, it seems like he's holding on to something. And then he kind of turns to the rest of them and goes, "Is there a problem, officer?"
As those words escape your lips, you have but a moment before open fire, starts raining toward you as they start taking just shots.
Please blink.
Okay. Please make me a rouse check. Let me just see if there's a button for rouse. I forget if there is.
There is a
one.
button, it seems. I see it. Rouse check button right there.
Please rouse me.
So you click that first?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
Ooh.
You get hungrier. So you're going to put one more dot in hunger, which should bring you to 2 hunger at this point.
Luckily it already does that on its own.
It does. Yeah, that's perfect. It does it by itself. So,
Perfect.
blink, as we know. Well, let's just say, go ahead and describe to me what happens.
So I think at that moment, right as I feel like because especially he has a heightened sense happen, he hears, as soon as he says those words, he probably starts hearing the click of the trigger.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like a little bit of that slow motion where he just starts processing. Okay, trigger's been pulled. I hear the barrel start to roll. I'm gonna go. And just like he leans forward, and then out from the driver door rips out a rather unique looking sword. Almost seems like it was kind of hidden in a hidden compartment. And it's this very exquisite, exotic looking blade that kind of curves up and then splits into almost 2 blades at the very tip of it. And you were very kind enough to mention that it is called a Zulfikar. So that is the name of the sword. The sword looks not ancient, but old. It is something that has seen time. It has been created during the time where blacksmiths were there. People who have handcrafted this exquisite blade, inlaid with small pieces of jewelry and gems into the hilt and the handle. And he kind of just leans forward, and you just see him for a second, and then next, gone. And I would like to appear in the dead center of these people.
as these officers pile out of the car and begin to stand next to each other, and they look to you, and again, you ask if there's a problem, and they open fire as you hear the click. What we see as the camera pulls back and we see a side shot of Qadir, as you said, he's gone. And for a moment, the rain itself seems to have this burned-in image of where you once were as the rain itself moves and splashes as you move quickly. We don't see really a trail through the rain itself. We simply pan to the group. One of them looks confused, but they barely have a moment to react before in the center, Qadir appears, and all that rain shoots forward off of you, flying forward into the faces and the body of the one that stands before you, and a gust of wind simply gently breezing past them. But now, standing in the center, you have your pick. Any of them you could swing at an attack. Who do you choose? There's one that's clearly standing kind of up front, maybe making the commands, the voice that you heard that was grunting and maybe saying some words to these individuals. And there's two others that stand slightly behind him. However, all three of them are within range for you to swing your sword.
And as I think he just picks whoever's the nearest to him.
I'll roll a 1d3, and that will be in my mind who it is. And with that, do you just pull your sword and swing?
Before he does, you just hear him go, batter up, and he takes a swing at the nearest one.
Please make me a dexterity melee check. So you rolled a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 successes. After his one defense that he gets, a simple 1d10, because he was caught unawares and he does not get to actually make a throw, plus what armor he has, you still will do a total of 6 damage to this man. As we watch Qadir, how does Qadir fight when this sword comes flying? Does he take a wide swipe? Yeah. And where is he? It's not really. You're not making a called shot, obviously. But where does Qadir kind of aim or target rather?
I think he goes directly for vital points. Quick, as fast as possible. Submit, subdue, and if that means across the chest, not even across the chest, I feel like if possible, first shot always would be to the neck.
Sure.
Sever airways, air passages, sever the head if possible. If not, subdue any weapon. So if they're holding a gun, get rid of the arm that would hold the gun. Basically, do it in a way that it would mitigate the threat.
Okay. So what we see then is as you arrive, and you kind of arrive in the middle of them, you have a much better look at what they're equipped with now. All three of them have helmets that are covering their faces and are likely bulletproof in some way, and you can see the tactical vests on the front of them straight down with their police identification marks that indicate them as government agents of some kind. And as Qadir quickly assesses, he can try and make an attempt at the neck and behead them. It'd likely be a little impossible in this moment, and so with that quick adjustment, a wide swipe from his left to his right, under the armpit of the enemy's left arm, and with an effortless move, you watch as this officer's left arm is detached from his body. Blood spews out from where his shoulder was once connected as he reaches up to grasp it, dropping his rifle, clearly unable to hold it at this point. As he stumbles away, still conscious, still alive, but bleeding and screaming. The other two, in response, level their weapons and fire. So, the way defense works is you get to make a Dex Athletics roll for your defense. Because you have celerity and all that stuff, you're not taking a penalty for penalties for defense for guns in open air. However, you only get one dice pool, your dexterity and athletics, and you have 2 people attacking you. You split that pool as you want. So if you have a dice pool of 5, 10, Jesus Christ, you could just do 5 dice for this guy and 5 dice for this guy to try and dodge their attacks, or all 10 dice on this guy and then no dice for this guy. How would you like to split your defensive pool as these two end up firing at you?
I think he would split.
Even?
Yeah. Unless, in that moment of assessment, does he understand the impact of the weapons that they're holding? Are they similar weapons? Or are
they are definitely they are similar weapons to the one you got this guy. They're all carrying essentially what looks like the same equipment. They're all kind of armed the same. And if these are hunters, you are expecting weapons that are tailored to taking your kind down.
Right. So yeah, I would do in that moment. I would split as best as I can to mitigate either of the weapons, because even if he were to focus on one of them, the other one would still be able to hit him, and that's still deadly for him. So
do me a favor and roll 2 just raw 5d10 pools for me.
I do have toughness.
You do have toughness. That's the thing that I'm looking at, but these guys aren't doing superficial damage to you.
Okay.
They are.
Okay.
However, you do have on top of that resilience. So your health pool is 3 higher than what is actually there. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You have a total of 10 health altogether.
Okay.
So as these guys fire, the first one you got 1, 2 successes, so you knock out 1, 2, 3. This first one, as they both unload, and you can hear the click of their trigger before the bullets ever enter the world and fly towards you and penetrate your skin. As they do so, being so close, it's incredibly hard for them to miss. And so, while we watch Qadir quickly begin to move in a fashion that is hard for our mortal eyes to keep track of, almost as though he's an agent from the Matrix, as a close comparison, he still is unable to dodge that many bullets thrown at him at that point in time. And you are going to take a total of, for the first attack, 3 aggravated damage.
Okay.
And for the second attack, less than that. 1 aggravated damage. So your total, you took a total of 4. And
Okay,
what
so
this
how do
looks
I-
like, so your health bar, starting from the left, click it once,
Okay.
and then click it again.
Okay.
That's aggravated damage. The first
I
one
see.
is superficial, so you're going to do that for 4 of the boxes.
Ooh. Okay.
And as the trigger is pulled and the rain is, while still deafening, you're able to mute it out to focus on those that are in front of you. When the bullets hit, it's not an excruciating pain in the normal sense. Instead, what you feel as you look down as these bullets rip through your very nice suit, you watch as scorch marks appear on the clothes. And as it ripples away some of the clothing exposing your skin, we'll watch as these wounds that are hitting Qadir. Normally bullets would likely bounce off or your own body would reject them. Instead, the flesh around the entry wound is scarred and burned. And on the inside, you can feel these bullets that have hit you burning away. Dragonfire rounds.
That hurt.
What do you do?
I will go and attack again.
Okay.
Is there a way in one sweep to cut across both of
Very
them?
similar to defense. If you want to try and take on 2 enemies, you can
Okay.
split your attack pool
Okay.
into however you'd like.
So that would once again be melee plus dexterity.
Dexterity. Yep. Which is a total of 9 dice pool you have to play with.
Okay. So I would do, once again, same situation. Cut through their arms or cut through and disarm them. So I would do 9 total. So perhaps like 4d5 one time.
4d10 and 5d10?
Yeah. Sorry.
Perfect.
Yes.
Yeah, no problem. Because as you swing for the first one at a speed again that we watch as the camera pulls back, and we see that man who's clasping his arm stumble to a nearby brick wall and slam up against it. He starts grunting and swearing to himself and moaning before we watch him slowly slide down onto his ass and his knees up and trying to fight for consciousness as blood is purely pouring from this open wound. Meanwhile, the other 2 focus on the target at hand, pull the trigger. Bullets riddle before Qadir spins around, sees his own wounds, and with the blink of an eye, the sword swipes twice. You can barely see it moving in a blur through the rain itself, but the rain gets cut in a way that our eyes can catch it for just a moment. And that first guy ends up taking 4 damage. You are, like you said, you're aiming for vital points, and as you take a swing, you cut this man's forearm rather deeply. He doesn't drop his gun. While you were able to likely cut some muscle or tendons, he's still able to support it with his trigger finger and trigger arm being the one that is uninjured, while the other one takes a little less damage, is able to step back, and it kind of swipes through the air as he was able to see it, as he watched his friend get hit first and able to react just barely fast enough where you're able to cling and clip his tactical vest and rip some fabric out as it flies into the air itself. They will once again try and make an attack. However, they now take this guy takes a penalty.
Okay.
And you want to split your pool evenly again? One looks like it's very clear to Qadir that one of them is going to be having a trouble firing his gun with any sort of accuracy is the word I was looking for. So if you wanted to give him a smaller pool, that might be something he does.
Could I first turn on Daunt?
Let me check. I believe you can. I think it's just...
Yeah, it's a free action.
Free action. Yeah.
Duration for a scene.
Yep.
Or intentionally ended. So, yes. So I want to make them fear themselves. Or fear me and, want to step back instead of wanting to fire, have that instinct to want to run away.
So what you're going to end up... So you're activating this power, like you said, is free. You're able to focus your inner beast and draw out the thing that scares mortals more than anything. Your supernatural tendency to be a predator. So what I need you to make me instead of that is a manipulation intimidation roll, while I have to make that roll. Oh, damn. A single success. So this brings up another rule that you can use. Every kindred is able to spend willpower if they choose to, and if they want to, they can re-roll up to 3 non-hunger die of their choosing. So if you want to spend a willpower, you can re-roll 3d10 right now and try to add to that.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'll do that.
All right, perfect. Yeah, wow, these guys' pools for this shit small. Oh my god, except for that man. Okay, I just rolled 3 10s and a 7. That guy's screwed. Guy. So how does, as we see maybe his sword, I imagine after a few slices, disarming one, injuring another, and they after them fire, there's a moment where he brings his sword down to his side, almost in not a defensive position or submissive position, but a confident position, I imagine. As this power activates, you can feel the beast within, the thing within that drives you to kill, that drives you to feed, roaring upward. To tap into that potential is something you've done many times. There is an essence within mortals that, in a primal level, they fear whatever that creature is, whatever you believe the beast to be. And with the Daunt, they're able to manifest that in some fashion. As the camera kind of zooms in and circles to the front of Qadir, how do we see Qadir use this ability? Does he say anything to them? Does he simply gaze at them? What is what do we see Qadir do?
I think he kind of first starts staring at them, and you hear the rain dropping, but amidst that drop, with his sword held to his side, you hear that drip drop of blood on the sword drop to the ground. It's a little more distinct. It's thicker. Yeah. You hear the impact of that a bit more. And I'm assuming with his Daunt, he can make them specifically hear him and hear that drop of blood falling, almost implying that could be your blood right there. And he kind of just stares at them, and then he goes, "If you want to live, drop them. Drop your weapons now."
You watch as the man who's crumpled against the ground, clutching his bare wound, tries to scramble to his feet, push himself away from you, and stumbles maybe 5 or 6 steps before collapsing back down to the ground. As your heightened senses are still active, you can hear his shallow breathing, the difficulty he has maintaining consciousness, the grunts and little moans he is giving himself, before the breathing stops. The one in front of you, whose arm was torn open, quickly drops his rifle and darts down a nearby alley, screaming something to somebody. It's hard to understand the words he's saying. They feel muffled underneath that mask, and the rain pouring down makes it even harder. But the one still stands before you, takes a step back, seems to lower his gun for a moment before there's a subtle shake to his head. You see his resolve come back, and he lifts the gun back up, and you simply hear, "Fuck you, bloodsucker," and he pulls the trigger. Now you have your entire defensive pool you can use against this man, so you're welcome to do so. Yep. I will also need you to make me a wits awareness after this roll.
Okay, so for my defensive, what was it that I needed to roll?
Dex Athletics.
Dex.
It's a fucking 10 dice pool. You are welcome to spend a willpower to reroll 3 of those if you'd like. Or you can just stick with the 3.
No.
He pulls the trigger and bullets once again riddle your body, opening new wounds and holes on your suit, and you take 3 more aggravated damage from this man as he just levels his rifle up against his chest to absorb the kickback and just seems to unload what he can in your general direction. Okay. Now, before you make another action, I need you to make me a wits awareness. So you've taken 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can boom, boom, boom.
Okay. Oh shit.
You have 3 more past that.
Okay.
Because you have fortitude. Yeah. You're a little healthier than you are. You can as well. Okay. I can put this out there. You can willingly take a rouse check and try and heal 1 aggravated damage if you want. It takes a rouse check to do it, but you can try and heal 1.
Okay.
It's also an action you're welcome to take at any point. It is going to take your turn to do it, though.
I think he's going to wait.
Yep.
So, wow. Someone give this guy a promotion.
Yeah, he's doing well.
You just hear... You're the dumbest brave man I've ever met. This is going to be fun. And then he just lunges forward and
thrust his blade.
Literally thrust it up his neck, like down up his jaw, through his neck, and up through his head.
Ooh. Go ahead and make me your attack roll. Unsplit this time around.
Which would be my
Dex melee. Yeah.
Melee dex.
You are welcome as well to, again, this is like little mechanics that you wouldn't know because you don't play vampires, so don't feel like you don't know them. Yeah. You're welcome to also spend a rouse check to add 2d10 to this pool if you want. At any point, you could always rouse the blood and give yourself a little bonus. It just comes at the cost of a rouse.
Oh, that's a messy critical.
You bestial critical. God damn. Oh no, that's bad for me, dude. Oh yeah. And as we watch Qadir almost blink forward the couple of feet that stand between him and the other, when the camera is able to catch up and focus, the deed is already done. As the camera turns and watches, the handle is already nearly into the man's chin, as the tip of his blade has cracked through the skull at the very top. There's a gurgling noise that falls forward from his mask, and you watch as blood leaks down beneath. And in that moment, the beast urges to drink your reward. And as he gasps his last bits of breath, we watch Qadir bare his fangs, bend his neck, hearing it snap in his own supernatural strength. And as they sink into his skin, you feed. You will feed back down, because you're going to drink him dead, to 0 hunger.
Okay.
You take a life. You're not going to lose a humanity for that. And as you stand up, baring your fangs, what crimson vitae still drips from them, licking your lips and cleaning yourself as not to stain, even though it's been ruined with bullets, not to worsen it than it already is. We can
see him kind of actually spit it out a little bit and goes, disgusting.
And we can hear the crumpling of the plastic and the tactical vest hit the concrete as Qadir lets go of his now lifeless body. Wits awareness. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 more successes. You hear them coming before you see them. Another vehicle, maybe 2 in tow. They're speeding. You can hear them swerving around cars, maybe a block back. They likely gave their location before they popped out of the car. And you can hear the backup arriving. Do we watch Qadir simply try to get out of the area?
No. Yeah. So I think, is the car so damaged that... Because he'd only hit the back. Yeah, so he'll jump back in his car.
I mean, you could drive it, but you'd be such an obvious sight. You'd be dragging metal parts and scraps, and you'd probably be pulled over by local police before anything.
I think he'll just run. I think that seems also smarter. Actually...
You do have fleetness.
I do have fleetness, and the other thing I wanted to ask, considering this is New York, I'm assuming there are fire escapes, external fire escapes nearby.
Yes. Oh, they're all over the place, and you are surrounded by buildings minimal 3 to 4 stories tall.
So I think that's what he'll do. He's going to climb up that building and then basically start doing rooftop to rooftop.
That's what we see, Qadir. As the camera zooms in, we can hear what Qadir hears. We can hear the rhythmic moving of faster cars and the engines roaring down a street not too far. We snap out of that, and we're now a good distance away from Qadir as we watch him look around, see a fire escape, and with relative ease, leap up to that fire escape. You may make me a Dex Athletics check as you jump up to clasp on and begin to climb, as I'm going to make a roll now as well. Good God. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 successes. Qadir, we barely are able to track you as you clock the nearest fire escape, run toward it, and with a slight, subtle bend of your knee, you launch into the air, grabbing a rung, throwing yourself up another couple of stories before you land on the next rung, and with a crouch and a jump, we see within a second, poof, 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 you are on the ceiling of the roof of this thing. However, as you arrive on the roof, the gravel crackling beneath your feet as you steady yourself and you look around for your path, standing before you on this roof of this building is an individual. He himself seems to have long hair, dressed rather plainly in brown clothing and a white shirt. But sound around his neck is a crimson cord, as though he graduated high school with honors. As he sees you jump before him, he seems startled. He's maybe 50 feet away from you at this point. He takes a step back, and he smiles after he realizes who stands before him, but he says nothing. Does Qadir say anything? This is not an individual you recognize. Okay. This is not an individual that you are familiar with visually, at least right now.
Am I able to tell whether they're kindred or kind?
Not immediately. It's not something you can easily tell on just glance. He could be kind. Do we watch Qadir hesitate for just a moment, thinking about like what he wants to, like as he kind of contemplates?
Yeah,
if he's just
I think he kind of just tries to figure out for a very brief second. It's very, very brief.
Roll me a 1d10, please.
Just a straight 1d10.
Just a 1d10, sir. Okay. You roll a failure. Mm-hmm. And as there's a moment where we watch Qadir, just a brief moment, less than a second of him just contemplating what to do. The man 50 feet away, after he's done grinning, brings his hands up. He says, "Christmas has come early this year. Qadir." But before you can respond, with your heightened senses, and only because you have your heightened senses on, you can hear what sounds like a gunshot, but distant. Not of a rifle. Not of an assault rifle or a pistol caliber, but something longer barreled, higher intensity bullet. And in that moment where you clock it and recognize it, you then feel your entire body go stiff as something enters you from behind, and you are unable to maintain motor function. Your body collapses to the ground, though you are entirely aware of everything that happened, of everything that is happening from this point forward. While you can't see him directly anymore, as your face now faces the ground, you can hear his footsteps. He walks up beside you slowly and puts the ball of his foot on your shoulder. With a gentle shove, rolls you onto your back. He straddles you on both sides, his face looking directly down onto yours. And he continues to smile. This is what she gave everything up for. You. He brings his right foot back and gently kicks your chin. If you were mortal, that would have certainly broken your jaw, but it was nothing for you. He unstraddles, steps away, and begins to pace before you hear him make a whistle. A few moments later, you can hear footsteps up the nearby fire escape. A young girl walks by with bi-colored hair, headphones, and a pleather skirt. She walks up to Father, and you can hear Father say, "We got him. Take him back and put him in the fucking hole. I'll deal with him later." Yes.
Would I, if possible, in any way use my willpower to formulate one more sentence before I'm unable to completely move again?
Absolutely, sir. What is it that you'd wish Qadir to say?
You see him struggling against what clearly, I'm assuming, is him going into torpor.
Yes, as he struggles, there's probably flickers of twitching in his fingers, as you said, Qadir would certainly struggle.
And my goal, hopefully, is to get the attention of this individual.
As you kind of make these grunting noises, and you do notice he quickly breaks attention to this girl, and the girl spins around with him. This is you saw the back of her head as she passed by you, but now she turns, and you, Qadir, would recognize this face. She's supposed to be dead, executed years ago. This is Mia, the Tremere prodigy who overstepped her boundaries and caused a lot of damage to the Chantry. But you attempt to say something as they turn.
Closer.
There's a moment where Mia looks concerned, but the gentleman smiles and with confidence strides over, kind of puts his legs over you and plops down on top of your chest, and then brings his face inches from yours.
And you see Qadir look him straight in the eye, and just a subtle smile comes up on his face, and he goes, "Next inning, mine."
He chuckles very, very just lightly, lightheartedly before he pats you with his hand on your chin just a couple times. I bet you will, my boy, but I've got a whole separate game I want to play with you first. And as he stands up, there's more noises coming from the fire escape, and you watch as he walks in front of you. This older man, maybe in his 50s or 60s, wearing camo pants and a plain white t-shirt with short white hair and a grizzled look, walk over with a sniper rifle slung over his shoulder. This individual that we know as Father walks over to him as well and puts both hands around his face and congratulates him, kissing him on both of his cheeks for a shot well earned and having not lost an iota of his skill over the years. Then he turns back to me and says, "Yeah," he goes in the hole. It's hard to know what happens next. Your eyes are forcefully closed and you're certainly tossed in a trunk. Car ride is hours long. You can hear the city soundscapes fading as time goes on, further and further away from the boundaries of New York, until around you can hear nothing but nature. Birds chirping, frogs croaking this late at night, owls hooting. But even that eventually goes dead silent. You can feel when you turn off the paved road and onto the dirt road and over the bumpy rocks. And over some time, eventually, you're parked, but you're left in the car for hours still. You're not sure how far until daylight, before eventually the trunk is thrown open and you hear a familiar voice of that individual with the cord around his neck. He grabs you by your ankles and drags you onto the ground. And he simply says to you, "You know, there was a point where I was just going to leave you out in the sun and let you burn alive. I still really want to do it, but I have better plans for you now." And you feel your body get dragged down these concrete stairs as your head collides with each and every stair. You hear the dragging of your own clothes on concrete ground before you're slid up against a wall. Your back is propped up, and your eyelids are pried back open. You're in a plain, concrete room, clearly poured by amateurs not that long ago, that is 4 feet wide, 4 feet deep. Certainly underground, because you can see ahead of you the trap door that opens up and leads to the outside. But down here, there are no amenities. There are no beds, nothing to eat for a kindred of your kind. And the only one standing before you is Father. And he smiles again widely, he's giddy almost. Mia stands a couple feet behind him, but as your eyes are opened, he turns to her and just ushers her away. She wordlessly agrees and heads upstairs. The doors slam shut, the tin door, and you can hear it being locked from the outside. And that's when Father turns back to you. "You know, I was going to let myself sleep, but I think I'm going to keep us up all day today. There's a lot we have to discuss." You took something very important from me, Qadir. And I don't even know if you know. He walks a few steps up as your eyes can barely keep track of him. The effort it takes to focus is insane. You can feel the wooden shrapnel in your chest. And as he steps close, he places his foot up against your chest, right where your heart would be. And as he pushes his foot down, he smiles and says, "You took that from me, and now I'm going to take it from her." You're just a toy in the game, Qadir. Nothing personal. I hear you're actually an excellent sheriff for New York. I'm sure they'll miss you. But as he steps back, he takes a deep breath and you watch. You watch and you can hear his body changing in front of you. His bones snap. His frame gets a little bit bigger, a little taller. His skin darkens and his hair grows a little longer than it once was. And after about 30 or so seconds, standing before you is you. He leans down and starts taking apart your suit. As he takes off his clothes and swaps. I gotta make sure I got the story right. Rumor is you've always wanted to just settle down and have a domain as your own. I know you like this whole sheriff thing. It's good for you. It suits you. But you've been doing it for so long. And now that Prince Panhard is missing, oh, God forbid the prince has gone missing, I think it's time you retire. So, I think in a few nights' time, you'll head back into New York, and you'll let them all know. You're retiring. You're gonna settle down somewhere else. And don't worry about your friends over at the club, Qadir. They're taken care of as well. Promise. You and I will have a lot to talk about. Though I hear you're a man of few words. Tonight, though, when you watch that pleasant look disappear, and what you think might be the first time since you've met this guy this night, you're seeing the real emotions he holds, as despair, sadness, and a seething hatred crawl across his face. He walks over to a corner that you can't quite see, you can't quite move your eyes that far, but you hear wood on concrete. He walks back into your vision, you see as a simple slugger, wooden bat. It's like, if I'm gonna be you, I gotta practice. And he winds up his bat. Yep.
And before he hits,
Yeah, please.
and tell me if it's not possible. Just because
Absolutely.
I don't understand the mechanics
No,
fully
you're
yet.
fine,
But
please.
if possible at all, just knowing him and the sheer willpower he holds, could I have one last word?
Spend a willpower, and you can.
And I do. And then before he hits, you see Qadir smile. Like it's a struggle. Like he's trying to like find the right muscles, almost it seems, to will the right muscles into place. And he kind of just smiles, and you just hear him look. If he's right in front of him, look at him, and just go, "Play ball."
And you say that just as he's about to swing, and you actually cause him to stutter just for a minute. He pauses for half a second as you utter those words, and you watch that steely resolve fall away, and this first swing of his made in pure emotional anger. And he swings. You can hear the whooshing of the air before the wood meets jaw, and you're not sure if the crack came from you or the bat. And as the screen fades to black, we can hear shouting, muffled screams, hitting, physical beatings. And the words on the screen fade in again, and we see 1 year later. The past year has been, if anything for you, Qadir, monotonous. Every night, Father arrives. He preaches to you the failures of the Camarilla, the folly of the Masquerade. Who are you trying to protect in the end of this? Our elders? What about us? What about our freedoms? What about our rights? To return back to the way we once ruled in the Dark Ages, to be who we once were, gods among men. And on other nights, that preaching isn't even anywhere in his words. It seems that he blames you for some emotional turmoil. And it takes months for you to realize, or before he slips up and actually says Vera's name. And the more you piece things together, even if he's not direct, the more you realize there is certainly some sort of romantic history he believes between himself and Vera. And how he found out about the two of you is unknown, but he certainly seems to know, and he takes out his rage on you. He talks about how he'd love to throw you in the sun and let you burn, but that would be too easy, and Vera wouldn't hurt as long or as much as she needs to learn her lesson. You learn Sean is gone over these months. You're not sure how, but he does tell you that the boy is dead by his own choices. That doesn't necessarily surprise Qadir, knowing what he knows of Sean, but still it does surprise you that he would make a fatal decision so openly. This is what your existence is for a year. And should you ever fall too far into torpor, you are forced-fed blood, dripped into your throat, keeping you cognizant just enough to endure the next beating. Because even though you're in torpor, the way Kindred work is that the next morning, you automatically spend a rouse check to wake up, and your body automatically tries to heal itself, which is another rouse check. And so for those first few weeks and months, you're fed blood on a consistent basis, just to keep you around. But eventually, they just keep you as hungry as they can, while beating you. Very rarely does anybody join Father. He's usually by himself when he arrives. But on this night, he doesn't arrive. At least not when he's scheduled. And about 5 minutes later, as you've tracked rather well how often he arrives by counting, the door opens, and you see 3 figures just past the moonlight on the outside. They have a quick conversation, and one stands outside while 2 scurry down the stairs. Yes.
And I just wanted to say that the entire time that this year has gone on, that last smile that he's had never left. It almost seems like he's become a statue, and that was where his muscles ended up placed as like a last mockery.
I love that. That's such a great detail, and there are nights where Father seems to just focus on that and try to beat the smile off of you if he can, though he never truly can. And no matter how many teeth are knocked out, they regrow, as Kindred tend to do. And as the 2 figures make their way down the stairs, shutting the door behind them, and the dangling light bulb that seems to hang just from a wire on the ceiling illuminates them, you see before you a face that you don't know, a young girl, maybe in her early teens, or rather late teens, early 20s, and next to her, Mia. Mia keeps the girl and tells her to stay by the stairs as she strides forward. She obviously seems cautious, concerned. As she walks to you and takes a knee, staying just out of your sight, she starts to talk quietly. I know you think I'm supposed to be dead, but I'm your only ticket out of here at this point. He's busy tonight. I don't know what you're going to do when I get you out of this. I know you might want to kill me for it all. But all I ask is to give me a night to explain things. He's not who he promised he was. And I made a mistake. She takes a almost reflexive breath, even though she doesn't need to, being Kindred, and she swings her legs around and plops herself on your shins. There's a moment where she cuts her palm and smears her vitae all across it while she mutters words to herself. And then she looks you in the eyes, and as she maintains eye contact, moves her palm to your chest and utters a phrase in a language you do not understand, though you do know it to be blood magic. And in that moment, you can feel the wooden shrapnel ripped from your heart through the front of your skin. And as she pulls her hand back, you watch as the blood connected to all that wood that's on her palm is stuck. And as she pulls off from your chest, she whispers something, and you watch the vitae turn to ash in her hand as she tilts her arm and spills the wood chips from her palm onto the ground. She stands up and immediately takes 2 steps back outside, put some distance before you and her. You are being kept at 4 hunger right now. You are really close to having to make a hunger frenzy check. However, while the dominating thought on your mind is food, you still have control over yourself, and you do not need to make a hunger check. However, the beast is almost impossible to ignore as it craves sustenance. You realize you have your functions. As soon as the wooden shrapnel leaves your body, you have your access to your functions once more.
I think almost reflexively, instinctively, the first thing he does is just take a deep breath, even though he doesn't need it. It's like almost gasping for that life that once was. Just like, did you see him like almost like he's been probably very stiff this entire time, and you see like hear the cracking of bones as they kind of set into place, probably ones that have been knocked out of their sockets or possibly
Plenty.
broken, ones getting healed back into position, and he kind of just crouches there for a second. And he lunges towards Mia, and goal being not to directly kill, but he goes and grabs her by the throat.
As you do so, you lunge forward and you move at a speed that is even hard for me to track, being a kindred. And as you arrive in front of her, your hand is wrapped around her throat, and her eyes go wide, but she seems to offer an immediate no resistance, though you can clearly see fear on her face.
I bring her close, like inch to my face, like almost my mouth is near her ear, and under whatever bare minimum voice he can utter, he goes, "Give me one reason why I should not kill you right here."
Because Vera's still alive.
Not good enough. And it kind of brings it up and goes, "You were supposed to be dead. So it makes no difference if I were to kill you now. What do you offer to extend your measly life, or what you have of it, another second?"
The prince is also still alive, and I can bring her back. You see quivering in her eyes. You can feel a tremble under your fingertips as you hold her, but she maintains eye contact.
I, even though I still hold her throat, I put her back on the ground, and I say, "Hungry."
She nods and she looks to the person at the door who runs over,
and I look at her and I tilt her neck and I feed. Not too full, but at
Sure.
least.
Yeah, you are at 4 hunger, so you don't have to make a hunger frenzy roll. How many points would you like to feed? Basically, the way feeding from another kindred works is you're transferring hunger pools, so you're not sure how full she is. But you were at 4 hunger. What would you like to bring yourself to?
I would say at least a 2, or to a level that I feel satiated. I mean, considering the guy has been in this state for a year.
Then you are welcome to bring yourself to a 2, and if you feel safe enough to bring it to a 1, you might be able to without you. She won't die. You just don't know how hungry she'll be afterward. How much does Qadir care?
I don't.
So
Qadir does not care.
So bring yourself to 1 hunger as you feed, and as we watch Qadir's fang sink into Mia's neck, and we watch Mia's eyes snap open, realizing she doesn't have a choice to even respond, the camera pulls back far outside the door, and on that, the screen fades away. What happens next? You'll have to tune in to the episode to find out.
Hi there, mortals. Thanks for tuning in. It's your dear Vera Volkov, and I'm here to tell you that the club is undergoing a few renovations after a little accident. and we could use all the resources to get us back on our feet. You can help us by either joining our Patreon or getting your hands on an official Stitch of Fate or Drakpack t-shirt by visiting TeePublic and searching Pod by Night. Well, go on. What are you waiting for?